Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Ninja Knight. Make sure you like the video, make sure you share the video, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Thank you. So what I'm going to do here is a recap and my thoughts on the DC FanDome experience. And it's a mixed bag, to be honest with you. There was an awful lot of it that I didn't like, and there were some bits of it that I absolutely loved. So you're not always going to play as everyone, and I clearly know that. So I'm going to crack on and talk about some of the panels that were involved. So the Wonder Woman 1984 panel. Now this was a panel that I was obviously going to be interested in, but with the release of the trailer of Wonder Woman, which looked very suspect in terms of CGI and particularly with the character of Cheetah, it wasn't something that I'm vying to see. And with the recent comments from Lindy Hemming, who's a costume designer, and with the way I've seen the trailer with Pedro Pascal, the way he speaks and acts, that they are trying to go with the Orange Man bad Donald Trump situation, and it's just been a hard pass for me on that movie now. So to me, that's a movie that's down. Don't want to know about it. We had the Warner Brothers Games Montreal announcement, which was for our Gotham Knights. Looked very good, looks interesting. I'm excited to see what happens with that with the Court of Owls, and to see what kind of aftermath we'll have with the alleged death of Bruce Wayne and Batman. So that's it. It looks like a solid game in my opinion, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they go forward with that one. The Sandman Universe Enter the Dreaming, that was a panel that nearly made me start dreaming because it was so boring. And they brought on Michael Sheen, and Michael Sheen's a very good actor, talented actor. And just even Neil Gaiman talking, everybody on the panel just didn't seem too interested in it. And for me, it wasn't something that I would probably tune into now. It wasn't for me. The Multiverse 101 panel, I thought that was done very well. I think showing people how the multiverse works really helps anybody that isn't quite sure how this thing comes together. And it was a very, very well done panel insofar as that they were showing that there's different areas. Now, they were dropping words like inclusion and diversity throughout the whole day, and the multiverse panel seemed to be the biggest one that was hit for that whole multiverse and diversity opportunity. And it's just their get out of jail card, I think, for deciding to make race changes and sex changes and gender swaps, I suppose, to characters, and that's really what they were trying to do and trying to equate that with, because they did go pretty much immediately to talking about multiverse and the fact that they have a black Superman on one Earth. So to me, I was like, well, we know what way you're gonna go now, DC and Jim Lee. Introducing the Flash panel, that was good. The Flash is a character that does need an awful lot of spotlight at the moment, particularly with the film that's going to be upcoming. So people need to get themselves in tune with it. I think with the ratings as well on the CW Flash series, I don't think an awful lot of people are going to be too optimistic on that one. But I think that Flash series probably will end quite soon. Beyond Batman, nice panel, not too bad. I thought it was very strange the way they had Will Friedle and Kevin Conroy voiceover and kind of disrespect the Adam West Batman. It seemed a bit on the nose, a bit strange to me that they were taking the mick out of their own material. Very, very odd. The Suicide Squad panel for me was a very strange panel to watch. It seemed like the individuals that James Gunn has seemingly wrangled into this movie, they all seemed like they were on something, in my opinion. They were all super hyper, shouting, and just seemed like they had ADHD or something like that. It was a very strange panel. And it was very contrasting when you looked at the individuals that David Ayer selected, like Margot Robbie, you had Joel Kinnaman, you had Viola Davis. They all seemed to behave like normal individuals. The same with Jai Courtney. They kind of sat back and were looking at this stuff unfolding, and it seemed like James Gunn and buddies, which is, it's a problem that I have with that film anyway, that the fact that he loves a bit of nepotism. And I'm not a big fan of James Gunn, as I've said in the previous video. I think the man is a very suspect character. I think the things he tweeted as a 40-year-old man was very suspect, and I think that given his past performances and what he's done and what he said, it's not a film now that I'm going to look forward to seeing. I will not go and see it either, because I wouldn't support anything he does. He's made King Shark a little fat tubby joke of a character, and that's something that I don't really like with this Suicide Squad film. It's going to be jokes galore, and I don't want to see another Marvel movie. This is not what I'm buying into DC for. I'm not buying into it to see jokes every 2 minutes and, you know, them him insulting Michael Rooker for 5 or 6 minutes. It was very peculiar. It was one of the more peculiar panels that I've seen, and looking at the faces of Joel Kinnaman and Viola Davis on it, and a great actor like Peter Capaldi, it was disappointing to see the way they were treated. They were they even looked like they were saying, "What's going on here? This is a very strange panel that we're on, and people are acting like very, very oddly." Peter Capaldi gave a nice little shout out to Doctor Who. There was a twinkle in his eye towards Doctor Who, and I feel like that he's a man that didn't want to leave the role. He feels like he's still in love with the role, I think, and the fact that he's playing the Tinkerer in this one is a good cerebral role for him. But like I said, the leaks on this movie, and if you haven't heard the leaks on this movie yet, it seems like they're quite accurate in that the original squad from the first film get captured, and basically they send in a new squad to get them, and that's where this gang of weirdos come from. James Gunn has drafted in his girlfriend, his very young girlfriend, to play a character in this movie. He's drafted in his younger brother to play a character that's quite similar to Rocket Raccoon, which is another character the man had played on set previously in the Guardians film. So it's very easy to spot how, I suppose, lacking on ideas the man might be. The next panel was absolutely embarrassing. This boss, females of colour within the DC Universe panel, it was an attempt to lick Candice Patton's arse for a number of minutes, and other characters as well too. I cannot understand that panel whatsoever. That would be akin to having an all-white panel, which I wouldn't agree with either, and saying, men of whiteness DC panel, I wouldn't understand that in the slightest, and I totally would disagree with it. It just seemed very, very strange, and it was whacking out words like inclusion and diversity, and it seemed like Candice Patton was trying to win over people as into why they should like her, and possibly showing why people don't like her. And her fans, as I've said in a previous video, are absolutely toxic individuals. I've yet to come across one individual that seems redeemable in the slightest. You've got the legacy of the Bat panel. It was okay. To me, this was the highlight of one of the highlights of the evening was the Chris Daughtry performance. That man is clearly a fan of DC and a beautiful singer. I thought he was done absolutely brilliantly well. Obviously, his song had something to do with DC, and it was a Superman theme song, and then there's obviously his World on Fire song. I suppose you could link it towards being very apt for the characters at the time. But again, another kind of I suppose panel that seemed a little bit out of place in my opinion. Like I wasn't really sure on that. Joker put on a happy face. Not a great panel again. They were celebrating years of Joker and the variations in Joker and how you can manipulate and change it up. Okay, that's a panel I thought again that was kind of a little bit wasteful. Jim Lee portfolio review, DC supervillain fan art. That was a bit of a strange panel because I thought the panel was a bit of an odd one when they had one individual come in with numerous things and Jim Lee just seemed to just shit on it. Like, obviously he was given support, but for a worldwide audience to look at Jim Lee be like, nah, that's not how you do it, this is how you do it, and the guy just sitting there and kind of been like, well, I have a job and I do this in my spare time, and I thought it was a little bit harsh on the lad, and I felt a little bit sorry for him, considering, like, this is Jim Lee that's saying these things, yeah, and it kind of was very diminishing and very... I would have loved to see a little bit more warmth from Jim and a little bit more support from him on it, but I think Jim knows that the game is up at this stage and it's only a matter of time before he's removed from where he is. Surprise DC Comics panel. Wasn't much of a surprise, wasn't great. I'm Batman, the voices behind the cowl. It was okay. The Snyder Cut of Justice League panel, that was the highlight for me. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. Really enjoyed that talk. And this one, that was the panel for me that I felt, I suppose, was the most authentic, because Zack actually spoke to two fans. He spoke to Fiona and he spoke to Dexter, and I felt that those were super enthusiastic panels. They were very emotional panels because the fans, look, they're not celebrities, they're not people that are involved in these with some of the other panels were, so they were all kind of licking each other's asses, whereas this one I felt that was really like, this is real, this is real life for these people, and these people have fought for so long for something that they loved, and it wasn't like a corporation driven, studio driven type of nonsense that I felt was in the other panels, and they took the questions from the fans, they took the heartfelt feelings from the fans, and I thought that that panel was absolutely beautiful. It capped off it for me, to be honest. The Flash panel, not great. Like, it's a, as I said in the previous video, it's a TV show with declining numbers, with a co-lead star that's entirely dislikable as a character. Nothing against the actress herself. I'm sure she's a nice enough person in real life, but the character has been driven into the ground. The Flash being such an absolute beta and needing other people to save himself has become an absolute farce for the character. And again, like I said, I think this next season is probably going to be its last. The Black Adam panel was great. Now, I thought I thought Dwayne The Rock Johnson's really brought it. He is someone that's super enthusiastic about the role. Was a little bit disappointed to see Noah Centineo, I think the guy's name is, who was playing Atom Smasher. That was the only talk that they had. I would have liked to see The Rock kind of engage with fans. Maybe he's great at doing that. His promo material with fans has always been his highlight, in my opinion, and it's something that he's top at. So I think that was maybe a very fastly thrown together panel, but I'm very excited to see what The Rock is bringing towards Black Adam. The way he called out Batman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Aquaman, Cyborg, and Superman, I thought was absolutely phenomenal. He really brought that old WWE, WWF kind of attitude, and was really making a call out, and made Superman's name, the last name that came out of his mouth, to be like, yeah, I'm going to take on you. So that was, to me now, that was really exciting. The CNN panel, I'm baffled as to why it was there. When you're seeing an individual like Anderson Cooper get time on this, it really, to me, it was a big turn off, and it was something that I wasn't really interested in whatsoever. Obviously, I thought that the individuals that he highlighted through it were very interesting and very noteworthy for the causes that they've been involved in, but he threw in the obligatory George Floyd shit. So I was kind of disappointed to say that, given what all we know about that situation now. Why didn't they talk about an individual like David Dorn, for example, who was a former police chief who died while trying to stop looters and rioters from breaking into and stealing things from a shop of a friend of his? You know, they didn't make mention of that. They didn't make mention of any other heroes that have died during that time, but they decided to focus on George Floyd. You know, so DC's inclusion of CNN in this was a very strange idea, in my opinion. I would have had no news broadcasters involved in this whatsoever. That would have been the best way to go, where you don't include Fox, you don't include CNN, and it's done. Nobody sees the easy targets that you're making of yourselves throughout this panel. Titans panel was okay. I felt again like they were kind of licking the arse of Anna Diop on that one, given she's a very old looking Starfire and a very miscast Starfire, in my opinion. It's a TV show that I think it fluffed its second season. I thought Deathstroke was a bitch, and it was disappointing to see Slade Wilson Deathstroke become such a bitch in the show, and for me that really soured my experience of Titans. I thought the fourth season was good. I thought Ian Glenn was horribly miscast as Bruce Wayne Batman. I thought that was a terrible casting decision also, so I don't know what they were playing at with that one. Curran Walters, it was revealed that he's going to be the Red Hood within season 3. I don't think that's going to shock anybody, but I don't really give a shit about it after Anna Diop and Minka Kelly signed the petition to defund the police and all that. I don't care anymore about it. It's the show now for me that's over and done with. I feel sorry for Brendan Thwaites. He seemed like he was genuinely interested, and he seems like a decent dude, so it's a pity for him. The next panel that we had was Aquaman. James Wan is super interested within this universe, and it's a pity that he didn't get a crack at King Shark, because I think he could have really brought forward those horror elements that you would have had for King Shark. And I think what he has planned going forward, I think, as far as I know, his Aquaman is set within the Snyderverse, whereas I think the rest of it has been kind of discounted like Birds of Prey. So I'm excited to see what Aquaman does next. Brilliant to see Patrick Wilson involved, and James Wan was very clear in that Orm will be a part of his next movie. A bit of an advice for James Wan and Aquaman. What I would do if I was you with the Amber Heard situation is, I would start Aquaman 2 with Aquaman walking into a room or somewhere or into Atlantis and finding a body double as Mera dead on the ground, and you have Black Manta standing in that room. Turn it around, don't include her, get rid of it. You don't need a love story in the second movie, just set it about Aquaman. Maybe have it come full circle in that you know, he already has a son by the time Aquaman 2 runs around, and that he's teaching his son how to grow up and become, you know, similar to him. He was a character that grew up without a mother. Now, obviously, he knows that his mother has died. Something like that, maybe include Aqualad along that journey as well too. That would be something I would do, and you could include Aqualad then as being the son of Black Manta. Maybe have a similar sort of, maybe a little time jump, considering that we're going to go into Flashpoint territory and there is going to be time travel, so there can be ripple effects, and that would be the ripple effect that I would have in this movie personally. The Ask Harley Quinn panel was absolutely diabolical, and it's a TV show that I have no interest in, but the way Katie Cuoco sounds like a 40-year-old soccer mom was quite an unusual situation that I think they found themselves in with this Harley Quinn panel. They should have really given this one the boot. They shouldn't have looked at that one whatsoever. It wouldn't have been where I would have went for it. It was quite disrespectful to fans and the people who were in that industry. So I don't see why they pushed it. And I think it was that there was one question asked that it was like Mary Kill, what was it? Kiss, marry, you, and void, or kiss, marry, kill, and she was like, "I'd let the two dudes die, and I'd marry Ivy, and I'd kiss this," and you're like, you couldn't be any more obvious if you tried. I thought it was really bad. The Wonder Woman 80th celebration, great to see Linda Carter involved. Really nice to see that. Patty Jenkins thrown to the side a little bit. Gal Gadot was clearly enamoured with Linda Carter, which was nice to see, and Linda Carter was very supportive of Gal Gadot, which was nice. So it's Wonder Woman's 80th celebration coming up. We have the Flash's 80th celebration coming up as well too, along with other characters that was mentioned within that panel. So yeah, all credit to Wonder Woman still surviving. Tomorrow's Superheroes with Jim Lee, brought to you by Goldhouse. That panel was absolutely diabolical. Being in, I mean, they decided to go down the route of this is an all Asian segregation tactic here, and I don't understand what he was trying to do. Really don't. It seemed like a very bizarre idea. Now, within this panel, he decided to reveal that John Ridley, who wrote 12 Years a Slave, is now going to be a writer on a 4-issue Batman series. And John Ridley made the comment of, well, there's more than a 47% chance that we're going to see a black Batman. And it's like, you're running way out of ideas, lads. This is essentially what Marvel did a couple of years ago. They made a black Spider-Man, they made a black Iron Man, well, a female one. You've already done it with Wonder Boy, gender swapping Wonder Woman's abilities and making it into a man. I don't understand the ideas behind it. It's a company that's in very big trouble in my opinion, and that was just another announcement to kick it on down the line. Jim Lee's idea was like, oh, it's an Academy Award winner that wrote 12 Years a Slave coming in to write a black Batman. Who gives a shit? I don't give a shit. And the thing is that it's only proven the likes of Ethan Van Sciver right. Ethan Van Sciver is absolutely correct that this was stuff that they decided to do at Marvel, and DC are retreading this whole ground, and it's a woeful idea. Whoever is making these decisions is fucking stupid. Like, I don't understand why you decide to do it. Anyway, moving on. We got the Shazam panel. I thought the Shazam panel was great. It was absolutely fantastic to see the chemistry that is still there with the cast that we have with Zachary Levi. Asher Angel is growing up really quickly, so the quicker they make this new movie, the better. We had the remainder of the cast rounded out as well too there, and then we had David F. Sandberg, who was involved in as the director. Megan Good was the older Darla, and then Faith was absolutely hilarious in this stream again. I thought she was absolutely wonderful, and she was looking for more members of the Shazam family. She was a great member of the first cast in the first movie as Darla. I thought she was absolutely brilliant, so to see her return now in this next one was brilliant. They revealed the name of the movie in this one, Fury of the Gods, as far as I know, and Sinbad arrived into the stream. Now, I don't know whether they decided it was going to be a complete joke and that they weren't going to have Sinbad involved in this film. I personally hope, from the way he entered it and the infectiousness that which he brought and that chemistry he brought, I hope he's involved in this second movie. I think he's absolutely hilarious. I always loved him in Jingle All the Way, and I think he would bring a nice energy and a nice difference to the second movie. And I think David F. Sandberg likes to bring kind of strange villains in, like he did with Dr. Savannah with the first movie. So I could absolutely see Sinbad appearing in this new movie. The Wonder Woman 1984, Wonder Woman cast play Werewolf 1984 was absolutely woeful. I think Chris Pine's reactions throughout that were pretty evocative of what I thought throughout the panel. He had his head in his hand for the majority of it and didn't look interested. I thought Kristen Wiig was a very strange individual in that she sat back through a lot of it and didn't seem to talk an awful lot of much. There seemed to be a lot of talking going on around her, and it just seemed like she wanted to sit on the outside, or she didn't like have any interest within the individuals at all. It gave me a bit of a Suicide Squad panel to it, vibe to it as well, because there was a lot of people shouting and getting on, and it just, Pedro Pascal was sitting back, Chris Pine was sitting back, Gal Gadot was sitting back, and so was Kristen Wiig. So maybe the bigger stars just didn't want to take part with some of these other individuals who are pretty much nobodies, and obviously you felt sorry as well too, I suppose, for Robin Wright, I think, who was involved in that panel, and she's kind of looking around going, what's happening here? Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. I've said it in the video that I've done. I don't understand how this has been set in the Arkham universe, which was said earlier on, and how Floyd Lawton is now black when he was white in the Arkham universe. How King Shark looks completely different than what he did in the Assault on Arkham that was supposedly a part of canon and supposed to tie in with this whole thing, but it just seems like a strange idea. The Batman panel, I've done a video on that. Not looking forward to that at all. I don't have any interest in it whatsoever. It's a retread, in my opinion, of the Batman Begins series. I've already seen it. I don't want to see it again. I've no interest in Robert Pattinson as Batman. I don't give a shit about Jeffrey Wright as James Gordon. I have no interest in tokenizing characters. I think it's wrong. I think if they wanted to have Jeffrey Wright in a lead role as a detective, they should have created an all-new character or used an existing one rather than fucking around with tokenizing yet again. And they fucked around with tokenizing Catwoman in this one too, rather than just saying, okay, we have a brand new character like Patience Phillips did it as Halle Berry as Patience Phillips in the Catwoman movie. They've decided to fuck around with Selena Kyle and change her as well, so I do not give a shit about that movie either. Wonder Woman 1984 panel and encore. Patty Jenkins, in my opinion, did not come off well throughout these panels, particularly with the previous statements she's made, how the film is going to be anti-capitalist, how it's drawing parallels to Donald Trump. I don't give a fuck about that movie now anymore. I do not care. I do not want to see it. I have no interest. And thankfully it's a movie that Zack Snyder had no hand nor part in, so he cannot get the blame for that one either. The Warner Brothers Games Montreal announcement, again, it's okay. So like not something for me. And then we had basically a redux then of the whole thing, like it was pretty much starting again. What did I think of it overall? I thought it was pretty embarrassing, a lot of it. The hyper use of the words inclusion and diversity when they just meant really one thing about it was pretty cringe. I thought the Zack Snyder panel was great. I thought the Black Adam panel was great. I thought the Shazam panel was great, which I wasn't too surprised at because I knew that they would all bring it in terms of promotion and understanding their audience, that they weren't going to say too much and they were also going to try and please the fans, whereas I thought there was an awful lot of grandiose grandstanding. And when I seen the likes of Mark Bernardin involved with these type of talks, I thought that was also a fucking joke, because that's a man that's been on a podcast with Kevin Smith that has talked an awful lot of shit about the Zack Snyder movies, and this is a guy that's involved with fucking Picard. Like, how does he have the fucking stones to turn around and say to somebody, yeah, I don't think that's written well, or I think it could be written better, and he writes and he gets involved in fucking shit like Picard? Fuck off, mate. So I don't think that guy has any place about talking anything about comics nor on DC, and I have no idea why DC decided to employ him. Well, I do have an idea, but I'm going to keep that idea to myself. Ultimately, I think the DC FanDome, I think if they decided to do it going forward, it could be a success. But if they continue with this type of shit, I nearly tapped out after fucking 15 minutes. I thought the amount of times that I heard the words inclusion and diversity, I was going to fucking punch my hand through the screen. It was just so bad. It was so cringe. And it was pretty embarrassing. The sooner this fucking identity politics shit goes away, the sooner the entertainment's going to get better. I am very concerned about DC with the road that they seem to be going down now. They seem to be following SJW Marvel down to the wire, which is a pity, because I hope that they would have stepped away from that and would have just said, look, we're going to leave all of that shit behind us and we're going to continue on and we're going to please the fans and give the fans what they want and give accurate representations of the characters, rather than picking up this SJW baton of fucking bollocksology. And that is not something I want to see. So look, again, like I was saying, if they give it another year, of this type of stuff, and this is how they introduce stuff, fair enough. But I don't want to see celebrities on here peddling shit. I want to see people being asked questions. I want to see the fans involved. If it's a fandom, where was the fan involvement in a lot of this? It seemed like, a circle jerk really for individuals that were here and their celebrity buddies to ask questions. I do think there was an element of sheltering individuals within this, and I'm not surprised to see that, because it's hard to do that. The majority of the stuff obviously was pre-recorded stuff, so that it would go off without a hitch. Now there is an element to that I do like. Obviously it's quick and it's easy and it goes through it, and some of the panels you could jump out of, like, I mean, the fucking female person of colour thing was a fucking embarrassment, and it shouldn't happen again. But I think you could skip out of that and jump out of that arse licking sort of stuff, and you could jump into another panel then later on when it didn't seem to reek of fucking desperation. But to me, going forward, they need to snip panels like that and just focus on the good stuff rather than turning people off. I mean, Twitter went fucking nuclear, I think, when they started all that type of shit. So I mean that's with people not kind of being withheld on what they can say on Twitter without actually saying fully what they think. I think a lot of the times. So I'd like to see them nip it in the bud. I'd hope that next year, if it's a similar type of idea, that they do get more fans involved, because like I said, the interaction with Zack Snyder was beautiful to see. And then the pre-recordedness, obviously you could see that Zack Snyder was very emotional. So obviously I think that was edited out, which I think might be right and wrong for a lot of reasons. But again, I think that was kind of interesting. You had Matt Reeves that seemed to talk an awful lot. He didn't seem to shut the fuck up for a good 5 or 10 minutes before he put out the Batman trailer. So he's also said there's 25% of that movie that's been done, and back on my mind was like, well, DC, your AT&T might as well cancel it and save the money and put it into something more useful than this fucking shit. But I suppose they're not going to do that. They're going to finish it off, unfortunately. And yeah, that was it. I thought the way they done the Jim Lee talk, when he decided to make like a watchtower and have some of his art as well too panded around it, was kind of unusual. It seemed like a Jim Lee celebration. So I don't know whether this is a final pat in the arse for Jim Lee and for him to fuck off now quite similarly after this, because there was some good art used. As far as I know, an Ethan Van Sciver piece of art was used, which I was delighted with, that Ethan got a bit of a look in, so that's brilliant to see. But like, there's no news from Green Lantern. I see a lot of people are upset that it seemed to be like basically a Batman and Superman show. Obviously it's going to be, when that's majority of the characters that are the biggest at the time, until the Flash comes out. I think the Flash might resonate with people, hopefully. But again, like, his panel was very strange as well too. Like, Ezra Miller just sat there just doing flashbacks, which was very strange. But I think, given the current circumstances of what he was up to a month or two ago and how viral that went, I think they were probably better off having him do something rather than him answering questions. And then seeing the likes of Andy Muschietti talking about the Flash is great and all, but like, when you're seeing fucking idiots like Christina Hodson, who was an absolute fucking third wave feminist moron, it's very problematic going forward, because she is an individual that wrote the Birds of Prey, and I do not know how she got a job after that fucking disaster. It was a shit film. It was a terrible film, and I do not know how she decided to wiggle her way into this Flash movie. It absolutely baffles me. And she was also involved in pushing her own projectionist type of views into the Transformers Bumblebee movie, which was the lowest grossing Transformers movie in the whole series. So I mean, this woman is a person that doesn't have a good track record, so I'm absolutely baffled as to see how she's involved herself in another project. How is my question. I don't know how she's managed to do it. But yeah, here we are. They spoke briefly as well too on the Michael Keaton involvement in that series, and they said that his Batman is going to give Flash his new suit. And okay, yeah, that's great. So is it going to be a lot of leather and rubber or something like that, like the Keaton suit? Because it seems like they had Keaton standing behind him in the original Bat suit. So it'd be interesting to see how that peters off. They've talked about Ben coming onto the role and stuff like, so delighted to see Ben coming back. But again, like I said, I'm pretty worried with an individual like Christina Hodson being involved, who I think is an absolute fucking moron, that she's involved with the Flash. So we will wait and see on that one. I will reserve judgment until I see a little bit more. There's been rumours floating about saying that she'd be talking about gender swapping characters, possibly race swapping characters, and in my opinion, Muschietti and his sister Barbara certainly made that kind of clear within that panel that they did say, well, there's a multiverse, it's open, people look different, there's diversity and inclusion. And I was like, these motherfuckers are going to change someone like Eobard Thawne or something like that now heavily, which is going to be a massive pity, in my opinion. Or they're going to change other characters, which I don't understand why they would do that, given there's such a rich history with some characters and they could be beautifully acted, but they just seem hell bent on this fucking shite of SJW woke politics. But anyway, that's my thoughts on the DC FanDome. I've seen a lot of people online seem to concur with those opinions. Obviously, I'm very passionate about this sort of stuff, and it's disappointing to see when you have a fan event that I was really looking forward to and I thought I was going to hit the mark, and a couple of days beforehand there's shite coming out about the Wonder Woman panel, and there's shite coming out of Michael Douglas's mouth, or not Michael Douglas, Michael Keaton Douglas's mouth. You have shite coming out of Andy Muschietti's mouth, you have absolute bollocks coming out of Christina Hodson's mouth, and literally there's like two panels where you're like, that sounds good, it's good promo, people sticking to the script there of how this is how we promote for everybody rather than segregating people and saying, talking bollocks like this, inclusion and diversity fucking crap. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Drop a like on the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment below if you feel like it, no problem at all. Gonna talk to you later, good luck.